Sonic the Hedgehog is a character that has lived on for generations, with his video games living in the hearts of many fans worldwide. He's probably the only hedgehog in the world that people like, until Sega tried to release this first design of the character for the movie, and every fan almost burned down the company. Yet, in the past few years, we've been treated to multiple films, plus a television show, and from what I've heard so far, people really like it. But how good is it really? So in today's video, I plan to go over each one of these properties, including Sonic 3, to determine if this franchise is actually worth it. So come along, friends. It's time we dived into the world of Sonic the Hedgehog is an enjoyable and entertaining time.
This right here is my favorite thing.
I'm not the biggest Sonic nerd, so going into this franchise, the only prior knowledge I had of this character was absolutely slaying on the ski slopes as him in Mario and Sonic at the Winter Olympic Games. And if you haven't played this game, you're missing out. So when this film opens up with the world Sonic is from, I thought it was beautiful. I loved how colorful and warm looking it was. So it came to my chagrin that in less than 5 minutes we were sent back to Earth. I would have really liked to be a part of this world a bit longer, but oh well. It's because he had to go into hiding because his powers on his home world attracted too much attention from the bad guys. So he stays in suburban Montana, a place only 10 people live, where the main attractions are your neighbor Kathleen's homemade stew and the 10 crows who keep you company by your mailbox. So a pretty good place to hide. So with many franchises, they take what's interesting about that character and force them into the human realm. Transformers did it, Godzilla's doing it, and Sonic does it too. However, as much as I thought I was going to dislike that aspect of it, it didn't really bother me because I enjoyed the human characters a lot, specifically James Marsden's Tom, a rural Montana cop who just wants to explore the world, and he runs into Sonic when he catches him snooping around in his barn out back, which makes them work together in this buddy cop kind of way for the rest of the film, which I found fun. For a totally CGI character, Marsden has great chemistry with Sonic, making their interactions more fun for me. Scenes like the bar sequence was a ton of fun. Letting the characters breathe and have a moment of peace and entertainment was nice to watch. It also led to a great action sequence with him too. I love when speedsters slow down time to a crawl, and this scene does it really well. I thought that although this movie is a silly, fun kind of film, the earnestness in trying to bring happiness to someone's tranquil life was nice. Although a little overdramatic, Tom's whole arc is wanting to leave his hometown to be someplace bigger so he can see a new side of life, which to me sounds pretty normal, yet since Sonic was forcefully removed from his world, he thinks Tom leaving willingly is the same thing and gets upset over that. So by the end, Tom realizes he should stay in his little suburban hometown anyway, which like to me is fine, but I don't get the reason Tom leaving is so bad. Dude just wanted to see a new way of life and got a better job. Like, damn. Tom's wife, this queen, was also a cool character too. Not as much depth was given to her, but she was still nice to bounce off of Marsden and Sonic's chemistry. But my favorite side character is easily Jim Carrey's Dr. Robotnik. Dude just oozes charisma for this role. It was made for him. He's so funny too.
You just sit there and be you. Sless.
Every time this man was on screen, you knew it was going to be a good one. The moments he has with Sonic and Tom are some really funny and enjoyable ones. I thought Sonic as a character was quite fun and enjoyable too. Some moments in dialogue he has in this film has aged quite poorly, and this only came out 5 years ago, but for the most part, I think he's quite entertaining. Ben Schwartz was a good voice actor for him, and I enjoyed seeing Sonic find a new home in Tom's life. Now, as someone who was around when this movie was first announced with the original design, I will happily say that this new design they cooked is so much better. His action sequences were also a ton of fun, with the CGI looking quite exceptional. Seeing Sonic stop time to freeze Robotnik's missiles or to stop the bar fight was really well done and eye-catching. I would also love anytime he would get all energized and his eyes would start glowing. You knew something sick was about to happen. The whole final chase sequence with the rings and Dr. Robotnik was cool too. Overall, I think this movie was a fun time, and I could see myself popping it on every now and again. I give this movie an A tier if I had to rank it anywhere. Pretty enjoyable time. For Sonic 2, I'd say it was quite enjoyable overall. I think the atmosphere these kinds of movies bring are a lot of fun. They're goofy, funny, and don't take themselves too seriously, and I think that's really great. Although I think this film veers into unrealistic in a lot of scenes, especially with how overpowered the original showed Sonic to be, I find the film to be quite a fun sequel. This time around, it mainly focuses on Sonic needing to defeat a re-emerged Dr. Robotnik, who's teamed up with Knuckles as they try to take back the Emerald Jewel, which makes the person using it immensely powerful. Sonic finds himself teaming up with Tails as they trek all all over to find this jewel and keep it from Robotnik. The story is quite fun, like I mentioned, but I do think the reasoning behind the whole plot is kind of out of left field, especially with how the jewel is introduced. This specific task was hidden from Sonic for years until all of a sudden Longclaw's hidden message is revealed to him for some unknown reason, out of nowhere. The film never really explains why this happens specifically at this time, it just does. It doesn't remove me entirely from the film, but it's like, if this is so important, why wasn't this mentioned at all in the first film, or at least teased? However, the rest of the film plays off the jewel chase in fun ways. I thought the bonding moments between Sonic and Tails was nice. Although the dance sequence makes no sense plot-wise, the sequence itself is fun. I thought Tails himself was a great addition too. He added another youthful optimism to the movie, but also has a cool skill set that differed from Sonic's. I found their quest being objected by Robotnik and Knuckles was great, and it led to fun chemistry between Jim Carrey's Robotnik and newcomer Idris Elba's Knuckles. And Knuckles was a blast, and Idris does a great job with him. I really enjoyed his dialogue. It was just so funny.
Oh, you're really heavy.
That's because I am 1,000,000% muscle. Fast the fox!
I also love seeing Knuckles and Sonic's arc throughout, starting as enemies with a nastier history to becoming friends and peers who work together to stop Robotnik. It was nice. Again, Robotnik was incredible, thanks to Jim Carrey. Dude is non-stop funny as this guy. One thing I will say about this movie that I found a bit weird was the parental relationship Tom and Maddie have with Sonic in this one. I personally found their relationship in the first movie to mimic friends or buddies. That's why the buddy comedy aspect worked there. I also never viewed Sonic as like a child. So when this movie ends with Sonic referring to Tom as his father, it threw me for a loop. Maybe that's just being a bit nitpicky, but it felt a little odd to me. This movie also has a real hard time keeping Tom and Maddie important to the story. For most of the film, they're just sent off to Hawaii for Maddie's sister's wedding until it's revealed to be an FBI undercover job to lure out Sonic, which was not on my bingo card for these Sonic movies. It felt like the writers were just tied creatively down and forced to keep the human characters involved somehow. Like I mentioned before, I think these types of films like Transformers and Godzilla being forced to include humans prohibits natural flow of pace. Like if the characters don't need to be involved, then they shouldn't have to be. And I know the wedding plot leads to something later, but I feel like if it was scrapped, it could have led to more time with Sonic and Tails or more time with Knuckles to build up their stories. Again, maybe that's just me, and I do like Tom and Maddie, but I felt like they were forced to be in this one compared to the first one. However, I will say I thought the action looked great again. I feel like the compositing for Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles looks fantastic, and I love all of their designs. The maze sequence with Knuckles, Sonic, and Robotnik was fun to watch, and that final battle with Golden Sonic was straight eye candy, man. So cool. Throwing this on the tier list, I'd give it a B. I personally find the first one more endearing and a bit more down to earth, which I just preferred a bit more. I did find this one to be quite enjoyable overall though, and I'm intrigued to see where the story goes now that Shadow's been introduced and teased for the third one. When I started this journey with the Sonic films, I wasn't expecting a spin-off show to be here, but here we are. And it's alright. If you enjoy the goofiness of what the movies provided, it's all here in mass. It's basically a show about Wade, the background cop character from the movies, learning to become more confident in himself through Knuckles' teachings. For one thing, I wasn't a huge fan of Wade in the movies. To me, he was pretty annoying and was that stupid character that was so dumb it seemed too unrealistic. However, I will say the show does give some more depth to him, which I thought was nice, especially between his family, which can provide you some insight into why he acts the way he does in the previous films. Since he has a father who left him at a young age, and a mom who overlooks his struggles, and a sister who constantly tries to one-up him and degrade him. Speaking of the father, they made him a cartoonish British villain, and it's hilarious. One episode is dedicated to Wade spending time at his home, and it was quite nice to see his family dynamics play out in a full episode, with Knuckles there. I also loved how serious the show went about talking about abandonment. Obviously, it wasn't masterful, but I did appreciate that more scenes was talking about how painful the father's abandonment was on Wade, plus the rest of the family. Unfortunately, while I like the aspects provided for Wade with his family, I feel like Knuckles is sidelined in his own titular show. His whole goal is to help a person become a warrior so he can fulfill his promise to his people that he saw in a vision in the beginning of the show. In this show's terms, Wade is a warrior because that's his bowling team's name. Yeah, the plot basically means Knuckles needs to make Wade a better bowler so he can beat his dad in a bowling competition. If I've lost some of you, I'm not surprised. So the main villains here are these former gun operatives and former Robotnik employees. And honestly, without Jim Carrey, you can feel how much that man makes those films better because, did these villains kind of bore me. The main duo was Kid Cudi and a woman who looks like Mr. O'Hare from the Lorax, and they're absent for like half the show until a few fight sequences, which Knuckles wraps up in 2 seconds. As for the Robotnik worker, he's got a max screen time of like 5 minutes, and he's only used in the final battle, just so Wade and Knuckles can fight something. I'll say the action sequences were fun. For a streaming show, the CGI was great, and there were some sequences where the camera panned around the characters fighting that I thought was really cool. Overall, the show is only worth it if you want to see some characters from the movies again in a show format. Personally, it's not really my cup of tea, and I'd prefer to never watch this again, but it's not terrible. So if I were to rank it, I'd definitely put it in C tier. Yo guys, we're on the road to 10,000 subscribers, so if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. The faster you do, the quicker I'll get my Harry Potter ranking video out, so get to clicking away. I was blown away by this movie, man. I really enjoyed it. I feel like the team behind this one really knew what worked with the first two and what didn't, and just amplified what worked tenfold. The storytelling was the best here, the action was the best, the music, everything about this film was the best of the three, in my opinion. For starters, the way characters were used in this movie was awesome. Team Sonic all felt important to the story without any being sidelined or removed entirely. One of my fears about this one was Knuckles was going to be put aside since he had his show previously in the year, but no, he's here for a considerable amount of time with some very important scenes. The team battle their own interpersonal struggles and conflict, which leads to some tension, which I thought was cool. I loved how the story kept trying to mirror Sonic's life with that of Shadow's, since he's also a hedgehog. I really love Shadow's overall story here too. I think him as a character was fun to watch, especially his action sequences, but there was a lot of heart to his backstory that was sad but also quite understanding. Also, casting Keanu Reeves as Shadow was top tier. These movies have shockingly great casting choices for each voice actor. It's really impressive. With Idris Elba as Knuckles, with Keanu Reeves as Shadow, with Ben Schwartz as Sonic, they all give amazing performances. Dr. Robotnik, played by Jim Carey, doubles this film as he plays two versions, one a grandfather and the other one we already know from the previous movies, and he was hilarious again. After not having him in the Knuckles show, it's apparent how amazing this dude is in these movies. I felt like every goofy scene that took place here wasn't at the detriment of the story either. Like the dance sequence in this film with Robotnik wasn't a plot hole or anything, and it was so funny. Their chemistry with Shadow was great, and how they manipulate him into doing their bidding is fun to watch. I also liked the emotional heart this film has going for it. All these films do, but amplified with Shadow's backstory and Sonic's, it led to some heartfelt moments I really liked. I also felt the human characters took a back seat, which allowed for more time with the main group, which was my main complaint of the second film. Here, the human characters only show up when the plot needs them, which I preferred. I didn't find myself asking why they were here this time, more like, oh, it's cool that they're there because they're needed. The first 30 minutes of this movie is wild from an action perspective. When Team Sonic meets Shadow for the first time, not only does Shadow have an insane skill set, his action scenes are sick with him teleporting back and forth, but he then goes on a sick chase sequence with Sonic that was really fun to see. If you told me 10 years ago that Sonic the Hedgehog would not only have a trilogy of movies, but have better speedster sequences than The Flash, I'd have punched you in the face. All of the CGI in this film looks really well polished, and the final action sequence was a 10 out of 10. The final 25 minutes of this movie is so good. That shit was better than any superhero movie made by Marvel or DC in the past 4 years. I'm being serious. The only complaint I have with this movie is how they used Wade. What could have been a really tense and awesome fight sequence between two main characters was wasted for a 2-second clip of Wade being dumb. Why was it used? All in all, this movie was awesome. I loved it so much. I want to see it again eventually. For me, it's easily the best one of the franchise so far, and I'd put it in S tier. S tier is for Shadow, by the way. If you'd have told me 5 years ago after the original Sonic design was released that not only would the company listen to fans and change it, but make it a way better design,
This right here is my favorite thing.
put out 3 more movies and a TV show, I'd have lost my mind. It's also confirmed now that a 4th movie is in the works, which is just crazy. I think these movies are a ton of fun though, and no matter which property you'll put on, just know you'll get a good laugh out of it with its goofy dialogue, but heartfelt moments, great action scenes, and some decent storytelling. I'm excited to see where this will all lead down the line, where this franchise will be in the future. It's honestly insane. I'd never have thought a Sega Sonic cinematic universe would get this far, but I can't say I'm not impressed. rest. Before I wrap up the video, I just wanted to take a moment to thank every single one of you who has made this journey throughout this year so exceptional. It is my second year doing these videos, and it's only getting better each and every single time I drop a new video. And you guys being there supporting me throughout all of these random ideas and videos I come out with has been nothing but encouraging. I love hearing what you guys have to say on all these videos and also on all these community posts that I put out every single day. I think it's really special to me, and you've made my year of 2024 just so much better. This year was monumental for our growth. We started last year around 600-700 subscribers, and now we've reached 7,000, which is absolutely insane. And to see that growth within only a couple of months has been really unbelievable, honestly. But it's so heartwarming knowing that each and every single one of you still love watching these videos every single week. So I hope you guys have had an awesome holiday. I hope your Christmas or Hanukkah was splendid, and I hope you guys have a fantastic new year and 2025 starts out right for you guys. I'm going to be releasing videos throughout all of 2025, so get excited. Probably within the first couple of weeks is when my first drop will come out, so stay tuned for that. But as for Sonic, guys, what do you think of my opinions on the movies? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know down in the comment section below, and hit that like button and subscribe button because we're still on the road to 10K, so please hit that subscribe button so you can become a part of the channel before we do. Also, liking this video helps push this out to more people like you who likes these kinds of videos. Guys, I hope you have a great new year, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.